Oh, but the actual, the hoopah model that you saw, that probably said. Yeah, so I already had that, and then from there, we built the simulator.
All right. Next presentation is somebody who, you know how people say you've known somebody your whole life? Well, I've known him for his whole life. It's my son John. He's a student at NC State, about to graduate. He's in biomedical engineering, and he got into virtual reality this semester, part of his education as well as part of his design project. He's going to go through a little bit of what they're doing at NC State, what he's doing specifically. And with that, welcome. Thank you.
All right. So, like I said, I'm John. I'll just get into the intro then. I'm a senior at NC State University in biomedical engineering, and set to graduate in May. And my research has been in rehabilitation engineering. And for anybody who doesn't know, that's just helping to rehabilitate disabled people, whether that be amputees, stroke patients, spinal cord injury. So I've been in a few labs now, but this past semester I've been working in Dr. Camper's stroke rehabilitation lab. And what we're doing is we're trying to use VR to facilitate stroke rehab. Help that. And so probably like 5 on now. So how I'm basically going to do this is I'm going to start with basically overviewing some of the applications of VR throughout the medical field, looking at mental therapy and some medical simulations along with some education, and then go into physical therapy and how this is being used in applications for spinal cord injury and then our research of stroke patients. And then I said questions at the end, but if you're confused about something or have a question, feel free to raise your hand or speak up. Don't worry about it. And for everybody here, there's, like I said, some game developers and people who are into VR. For the purposes of this presentation, I'm referring to VR as interacting with the virtual environment, just to get around the terminology of augmented reality and virtual reality. So if it looks like something's augmented reality in VR, and I'm calling it VR, that's just for the purposes of this presentation. So I'm going to start with mental therapy, and I just wanted to set this up, and this is not a new thing. This has been going on for a long time. This was, the top picture is a study, or an application in 2000 for burn victims. And basically showing if you could put these burn victims in an immersive environment, it actually decreases the pain as much as steroid injections and a lot of other opiates that might be needed. And so it's just showing the benefits of what VR has just for that mental therapy. And basically if you can distract them, just like if you have a kid who falls and hurts his knee, and then you show them a picture of a clown, they're not going to think about their knee anymore. And it's just kind of getting that immersive feel. And the bottom 2 pictures are more recent. The kid, these are both 2 burn victims, and just showing how having them in VR while you're helping them through getting through that therapy. It's mental therapy at that point because it's all in their head. And I'm going to get more into that now. And has everybody here heard of phantom limb pain, phantom limb syndrome? Everybody? Okay. And so basically what that is, for other people who may not know, it's when, if you have an amputee, if you get your arm cut off or something, or not cut off, but you have to get your arm amputated. And your brain does not know your arm has been amputated. And that causes the person to have a lot of pain. And the reason for that is you have 2 different types of nerves in your spinal cord, basically, in your peripheral nervous system. There's motor neurons, which come from the spinal cord, and sensory neurons that go to the spinal cord, so that feedback. And so your brain is sending all these motor neurons to your arms and extraneous limbs, and it's expecting to get that sensory input back. And while all that pain happens, they're not getting any of that sensory input back. And so just kind of showing you, your brain has no way of knowing your leg's not there. And so when it's not getting that input back, it inputs it as pain a lot of the time. And so getting into the application, just some more background, there are things called dermatomes that run up your body, that run up along your limbs or on your legs or on your arms. So basically, something I would feel on my fingertip here translate to a nerve that would run up your arm, further up your arm. And so how we can take advantage of that, and how they've taken advantage of that in the past, is with this example here. So basically what this is you're trying to trick the brain. So you want to try and trick the brain and make them feel like they're getting a stimulus on their arm. And so what you see here is normally done, you have a clinician with these vibrotactile devices placed strategically on the stump or where it's been amputated, so that when this person sees a fake hand being touched, they think their hand is being touched. And that gets rid of a lot of the pain because it's tricking the brain. It's just a mind trick at that point. And so how this is being done with VR is we can do the same thing without the physician, without having to be in a clinical setting. And that's going to be presented a lot throughout my talk, is just basically VR gives us the freedom to not have to be in that clinical setting, not having to have that two-person interaction. And so then other types of mental therapies that VR can benefit from is PTSD. A lot of when soldiers come back, it's a big problem for veterans now, is just PTSD, and you're finding more and more of this just being a problem in society for the veterans that come back. And what they found is that if you put someone in an environment that they're used to, that they're comfortable with, like a war setting like this, a lot of that anxiety and fear just goes away. And that's where I try to get into next, is that with the anxiety disorder, so if you're scared of spiders, arachnophobia, it puts you in a safe place to interact with your fear without having to actually have that stimulus there, not without the actual danger component of it. So, and heights is another really good one. You can put someone on a cliff and try to just gradually get them to look over the cliff without them just bringing them to a cliff and having that danger component. It's just the type of ways that this immersive environment that you can control is really helpful in mental therapy. The next, I have a video that it's with the HoloLens. It's a pretty cool video that kind of outlines a lot of what medical education, medical simulations can benefit from virtual reality. So I'm just going to let this play real quick.
We've been teaching human anatomy the same way for 100 years. Students get a cadaver, then they look at medical illustrations, and it's completely two-dimensional, and the human body isn't.
Microsoft HoloLens is a holographic computer that you wear. It enables you to bring your digital world into your real world.
At Case Western Reserve University, we are focused on solving problems and creating new knowledge.
My job is to teach, and I really think this could impact almost everything that we teach people. With HoloLens, you can see the muscles on top of the skeleton all at the same time. You can bring them in and out and exactly understand where things sit.
You can take any anatomical part and show any of it. You can move it around, you can make it kind of translucent so you can see through the outside, and that really helped me understand how cardiac anatomy worked. I actually had a moment where I found the aortic valve, and it was the first time that I'd actually seen the aortic valve in relation to all the other anatomical structures. You know, it was a way of seeing it that you couldn't do with an actual heart.
I think this will improve students' confidence in learning anatomy dramatically.
By creating simulations with the HoloLens that lets them have an experience where they can fail, that would be the best way to learn, because we don't allow people to fail too much in real-life medicine.
With HoloLens, you could imagine having a class standing.
So going off that point of failure, getting in some more medical simulations, the biggest problem with a lot of minor surgeries is that there's not much training that can be involved with them. So like a gallbladder removal, it's a minor surgery. Most surgeons get their first training on it when they operate on a person. That's the first time they'll go in, because there's just not much training involved. There's not many simulations out there that let them get that experience working with it. So what VR can do is you can actually have this immersive environment you can put them in that actually projects it onto a table for them. So even if they're not cutting the exact right spot on the person, they get an introductory view of what it actually might look like when operating on someone. So help with that training. Just another application of it. So the last half of my talk is going to be on physical therapy. It's what I've done a lot in my research and what I know more about. So the four main things I want to talk about, I'm just going to go through these, so I'll click. Is basically in physical therapy, what we're looking to do with VR is accomplish goals that wouldn't be available in normal life. Someone who's paralyzed, who's not going to be able to walk, will never be able to walk probably on their own. In VR, I'm going to show you how they can walk and how it can help them through their physical therapy. That's probably one of the main things that I want to take is being able to accomplish a goal that otherwise may not be possible. And then going on to the next thing, to high repetitions. A lot of physical therapy is very mundane, very boring. If anybody's been hurt here and had an injury where they had surgery and they did the rehab in the clinic or at the physical therapist office for a month and they told you need to keep doing this for 3 months, how many people actually did it for the 3 months and kept on doing it? Yeah. You're not going to, it's very, if they're telling you move your arm up like this 100 times a day, it's not very fun, it's not very enjoyable to do. And then the third thing is getting feedback, getting visual feedback, haptic feedback. Haptic feedback is just basically when you go out and you touch something. So like I'm getting haptic feedback from this table because it's pushing back on me because I can tell there's a table there. Showing how we can incorporate that into VR as well as audio. It's not just visual feedback that you're getting when you see it. How we can incorporate other stimuli into it so it's more realistic. And then tracking progress is probably the last point I want to make. And in a physical therapist office, specifically for stroke patients, they want to know what area of space you're moving in with your hand. A lot of stroke patients have trouble extending their arm, reaching, grabbing for things, and bringing it back. And so it's very hard to track what areas they can move in. And so with VR, it's all computer-based. You know where they're moving. You can track where they're moving. You can tell from that what they can and can't do. And so I want to move to paraplegics. And so typically, what paraplegics, their therapy has been very hands-on with a clinic, where you have 2 people helping them, basically, sometimes even 3, where they're on that bars, and it's really activating their upper body more than their lower body. They're moving more, they're using more muscles in their upper body trying to move along rather than their lower body. The picture on the left is it was a very good invention at the time 10 years ago. It's called the Locomat. And what it does is it moves the person's legs for them. It's actually moving their legs for them. What they found is that a person can actually fall asleep in this, and it doesn't do much physical therapy at all. It doesn't actually help. And so then moving on how we can use this for VR and how we can try to get a person to walk in virtual reality is back to this idea that the brain still thinks there's a leg there. It's still sending motor commands down your body to where your leg would be. And how we can take advantage of that is by EEG. EEG, for those who don't know what it is, I'm going to try to explain it on a very surface level. It tracks the neural activity of your brain. So those neurons that are firing, the motor neurons that are firing to move your leg, we can actually track that through EEG. And so the studies that have been done is basically using EEG to control an avatar in VR. So basically controlling an avatar in VR and then hooking that up to the Locomat, which is also controlled by the EEG. So then you get this, everything that you're thinking, you have to have physical thought about trying to move your leg. You can't, it's not just moving it for you. And I could get this more. They have an exoskeleton they built for this too, so not in VR. That's a whole another talk about exoskeletons, but getting into stroke rehab now. How am I doing on time? Okay. So typical stroke rehab you see here, it's picking up blocks. It's very primitive. It's almost they started out stroke rehab by trying to do it in monkeys and then translate it to humans. It's very easy to do, very mundane. If you can think about it at home, having to move this block, they actually doing laundry, they say, is really good stroke rehab. It's just trying to move your arm back and forth, because when you have a stroke, it's very hard to have that mobility in your arm. And so what we've done is we've tried, and this is more in my research now, is we've tried to make it more entertaining. We want it to be a fun environment where they're still having to move their arm, but they don't know they're moving their arm, basically. They're not doing it for rehab, they're doing it to have fun. And so basically, from this, we can track the movement of where their hand has been, or the amount of displacement their hand has had, and be able to track that at a remote location. So what I'm going to show now, or hopefully now it works, I'm going to try and demo basically how this laptop can be anywhere in the world almost, and can then be connected to those two laptops over there. So can I get 2 volunteers? Yeah, come on. All right, so right click, or left click is pick up, right click is release. And so I'm gonna explain it now. Hold that in your left hand, you're gonna pick things up with your right hand. Just press on your left, it's easy. You don't need to have that hand up, you're just gonna be using your right hand. All right, right click, this to pick up, this to release. So, okay, you hold that in your left hand, hold this in your left hand, and then you put that down your leg, this hand down your leg. Oh, okay, here. It's a little laggy, so you may have to release it early. But yeah, just, you can grab, I'm in the way now. So, try to hover over it until it says grab, and then click it, there you go. So, from this, what you can see is using the Kinect, and the Kinect displays is just picking up a skeleton of their chest and arms, and basically mapping it from that. What we try to do here is just get them moving their arm away from their body. Getting that movement of trying to reach across. You can see they have objects on both sides. Reach across, and then having to throw and extend their arm, actually. And the reason we use Kinect and not something like the HoloLens or the Vive or Oculus is because in stroke patients, when they lift their arm, their head actually lifts up. And with the head-mounted displays, you have to be looking straight. And it's really difficult. Along with in stroke patients, they get nauseated much easier and a lot more cases of vertigo. And So there's 2 trackers basically. This score tracker up here just counts as how much they're interacting with the environment around them. And then I don't think I can pull it up now. There's a logger that tells you the displacement of their hand and their elbow, telling you how much they've moved away from their body and how much they've gone. I'm actually developing a game now. I don't have to pull it up, where it's a brick wall in front of them, and they have to try and punch through a brick wall. And so basically, from that, you can see what areas of the wall they've broken. So if they've broken just on this side, you know they're having a lot of trouble to go on this side of the wall and move across, and then vice versa. So I'll let them keep playing if they want. If you guys want to just take a break, I'll finish up. Okay, so. Going to the haptic feedback and visual feedback, just really quick, I want to talk about what we're doing moving forward and the applications it has for the Vive and Oculus. The lab I've worked in has actually developed a soft exoskeleton glove that actually is not the big bulky ones you see that basically that are full body where it helps people who are paralyzed walk. This is more of a glove, much more close to the skin, much more flexible, that is cable actuated. The cables run up your arm and is controlled by EMG. Similar technology to the EEG, it just picks up the neural activity in your muscles rather than your brain. And that's how the glove is controlled. And then there's a separate study going on that's trying to map the hand movement. So I don't know if you saw in the game, it was still a very rigid avatar. And so what a grad student is working on is being able, it's sensors that you can put on the hand or across the hand where you see here. that actually can map your hand movements. And then taking that hand and basically putting it onto the skeleton that's already there for the avatar. I'm not going to go with that. So basically, summary, I just want to talk about is just controlling your environment, being able to control the environment the patient is in, the accomplishing goals. There's a quote that my professor told me that he said he basically lives by. If you're asking a stroke patient to grab a brick and they can't do it once, why would they try to do it 1,000 times? And so in VR, in this, we don't really have any limitations. There's nothing limiting what we can allow patients to do. So if a patient can only move their arm this much, we can then amplify that to say they can move it this much so they can get that sense of accomplishment and being able to allow them to accomplish goals. And then back to the tracking. Like I said, it's very hard for, it's basically a judgment call for a physical therapist to know how much progress you're making through your physical therapy. They have measurements, but a lot of the times if you're trying to track how much they moved here, you don't really know. And so VR gives us the ability to know how much progress a person is making, or know what they can't do. A lot of times you know what they can do for a physical therapist. They know where they can do it. They don't know necessarily where they can't do it. And so that's my presentation. If there's any questions, or if you guys want to get to the demo.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned it works with anxiety and sensory processing disorders. So I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist, and I know that a lot of occupational therapists are hesitant with VR only because of the processing disorders that some of our younger patients have. So what are some different studies or programs or research that's being done with VR to work with kids who do have processing or cognitive delays and disorders?
I have to be honest, mental therapy is very new to me.
It is very tricky.
Especially mental therapy for kids.
Mhm.
I don't have that much knowledge on it, so
But it does work with gross and fine motor disorder, is that correct?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
This is already very innovative, but what do you see in this evolving into in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Really, I don't see the Kinect as it really, I think it's the HoloLens. The HoloLens coupled with some of the other physical, like the exoskeletons that are being developed, having that as your physical therapy, and basically having an exoskeleton that can help you grab something, and then in VR, basically being able to maybe just grab a hammer. And you get that haptic feedback of that you actually are grabbing a hammer without having the hammer in your house that you're waving around trying to hit a nail into a board with the HoloLens.
Here's any frustrations with it, like something that you were hoping it would do really well and it just turned out it's not the best tool for the job?
The head-mounted displays for stroke patients were a lot of the papers. It's just been really hard because the more immersive someone is, the better results you're going to get out of it. So the more immersed someone is, the better results you're going to see. So we've had to use the Kinect for stroke patients, but everything is said, but even with going back to the anxiety stuff, the more they don't know what's going on outside of them, the better the therapy is.
Since it seems to be used with stroke patients, I know stroke patients have a lot of oral motor processing disorders. Is there any way to use VR with oral motor processing disorders?
That game actually, there's a voice component where you're actually trying to talk, so you can talk to the person that you're playing the game with. Specifically working on jaw movement and tongue, it's just basically having them talk during the game.
So, as you were coming up with this, and of course the technologies that you were exposed to learn to get this far, how much of this was old technology developing into new technology?
Well,
for you to be able to know as much as you know now.
Well, I consider the Kinect old technology. Yeah, that's very old technology. It's not very old as in 10 years.
But you're using that as a resource for the augmented avatar that's right here.
I don't know.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about. So how much of that old technology are you using to achieve your new technology?
Oh, okay. So, like with the EEG's been around for probably 30, 35 years for it to be where it is now. And we're finding new applications beyond VR. EEG is probably the next step for all prosthetic controlled devices that are or neural prosthetic devices that have a neural interface to it. A lot of the times they've been EMG, which is muscle movement. With EMG, you need to have a limb still there, some type of a limb there. With EEG, you don't really need. You just
So using that as a triggering mechanism.
a controller.
Yeah, and you're using the existing software and using the same sort of.
So existing processes. So like, there's already processing out there that processes EEG for you to tell you to like basically know, oh, you want to move your hand this way. That's already out there. So using that and basically transferring that into a controller. So instead of having the Kinect as your controller, you have a EEG controlling the game for you. Yeah.
Obviously, this is like a fledgling thing to be doing on a regular basis as far as like using it consumer-wise. My girlfriend is an occupational therapist assistant, and so she was sad she couldn't come. But how far along do you see us on the path towards it being used in like facilities across America? Because right now the technology to run a VR machine or an AR machine is expensive.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's not as commercially available to every facility across the country. How far along are we in getting to something where you might have a machine that a facility buys, and that's like, this is our VR machine. Do you see that as something that people are creating a lot of programs for?
This game actually is in a full-fledged clinical study in Chicago. So the professor I'm working with came from RIC, Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago, and they have a full-fledged study going in to capture all the data that this game can provide. And so that's the first step in this being a commercially available physical therapy, basically, to get into the clinic. As at this point, using the Kinect, there's some drawbacks to it. It's by far the cheapest compared to what the Vive and the HoloLens cost. It's less than $100 to get a Kinect. And then you just need TVs at that point and laptops to run it. Probably 5 to 6 years before it's been upgraded enough to where a lot of people want to use it outside of research. But it's not that far off. It's hitting the ground running now. So it's just gonna, with the more commercially available these VRs, the more expensive VRs become, the more you'll see this getting incorporated into hospitals. And beyond physical therapy, even normal fitness. Stanford already uses VR for their football training. I don't know if people saw, I learned about that through 60 Minutes. They're already using VR to help with football training and football scouting. So it's here, and it's just going to keep growing.